So I finally got around to watching Sex and the City and I was pleasantly surprised by the show. I binge watched all 6 seasons and really enjoyed how each season was good in their own right. The storylines were so interesting and the four main characters were also different and complex. However, I couldn't help but wonder if these four characters would have truly been friends in real life. I find them all so different from each other, and it's the type of difference that generally interferes with the maintenance of a long-term friendship. You can already see in the pilot episode how all of the girls are very different from each other. I am going to insert a clip here that showed us very early on how different their personalities were, how romantic or non-romantic they were, and you can see similarities between Samantha and Miranda and between Charlotte and Carrie.
Call you? Sweetheart, this is the first time in the history of Manhattan that women have had as much money and power as men. Plus, the equal luxury of treating men like sex objects.
Yeah, except men in this city fail on both counts. I mean, they don't want to be in a relationship with you, but as soon as you only want them for sex, they don't like it. All of a sudden, they can't perform the way they're supposed to.
That's when you dump them.
Oh, come on, ladies. Are we really that cynical? What about romance?
Yeah.
No, who needs that?
It's like that guy Jeremiah, the poet.
I mean, sex was incredible. But then he wanted to read me his poetry and go out to dinner and the whole chat bit. And I'm like, let's not even go there.
What are you saying? Are you saying you're just gonna give up on love? That's sick.
No. Believe me, if the right guy comes along and you two right here, this whole thing, right out the window.
I don't think so.
The right guy is an illusion. You understand that? You can start living your life.
So you think it's really possible to pull off this whole women having sex like men thing?
You're forgetting the last seduction.
You're obsessed with that movie.
Okay.
Linda Fiorentino, fucking that guy up against
yes.
the chain link fence.
I'm never having one of those, oh my God, what have I done, epiphanies.
I hated that movie.
So as you can see from this clip, Samantha and Miranda seem to share the same approach and thought process when it comes to men, dating, and relationships. Their mentality seems to be much more masculine, or I should say maybe their approach or how they just think about that kind of stuff. And then Carrie and Charlotte seem to be more romantic, idealistic, and soft in their approach to love and men and dating and relationships. So first, let's start with Charlotte and Samantha. So these two characters couldn't be any more different in my opinion. I think they're actually polar opposites. So one is traditional romantic, more on the conservative side, and the other is practically anti-tradition, non-romantic, and much more liberal in her approach to relationships and sexuality. So these two characters in real life definitely would judge each other, and I don't think they would be able to sustain a friendship long-term because of how different they are. Now, I don't think they would necessarily hate each other, but I think they wouldn't get each other. That perhaps have a hard time understanding each other's worldview, like just their opinions and beliefs about love in the world and relationships. So next we have Carrie and Samantha, who could possibly be acquaintances in real life, like I could see that, but not close girlfriends as they were in the show. Because women like Carrie look down on women like Samantha, in my opinion. And women like Samantha find women like Carrie pathetic with the, pick-me antics and the desperation and how just, I wouldn't say male-centered because Samantha is male-centered in her own way, but Carrie is male-centered in a different way. Because Carrie is more obsessed with the idea of having a relationship with men and having true intimacy with men, whereas Samantha is more focused on, I guess, using men and objectifying them and just having fun with them and not necessarily building a meaningful, intimate relationship that is sustainable. And the way I see their friendship going in real life, if these two characters were actual real friends, is that Samantha would always be annoyed with Carrie and everything she has going on and her volatile love life and how she's always complaining and just always being very neurotic and idealistic and not realistic enough and just always getting played by these men. Like Samantha would be annoyed. Like I'm not saying she would ditch her as a friend. That's why I say that they could be great acquaintances because I can see how one another find each other funny or, stimulating to an extent, but I really don't see them having a true, intimate, sustainable friendship in real life. So another friend in the group that I think would have a hard time actually being friends with somebody like Carrie in real life would be Miranda. I think that woman like Miranda would probably find woman like Carrie to be insufferable and just very much annoying when it comes to like her approach to dating and how she deals with men. I think that women like Samantha and Miranda have a hard time maybe sustaining long-term friendships with women like Carrie because their approach to dating and ideologies about men are completely different. I think they find women like Carrie to be a bit naive and too idealistic and maybe even a bit delusional. So I believe that characters like Miranda and Samantha usually judge the Carries of the world and they see them as the problem when it comes to men getting their way with women. And this brings me to an interesting observation that I've made, which is that both Samantha and Miranda had strong avoidant tendencies as opposed to Carrie, who was very anxious, preoccupied, codependent, or I should say codependent tendencies, and very much of the neurotic type. So you can clearly see how that even manifested in the women's love lives, and I'll make a video dissecting their love lives based on their perceived attachment style. So contrary to what people might think, I think the two other characters I would see having a difficult friendship in real life would be Carrie and Charlotte. So I say this because although they seem to be the sweetest, most considerate girls in the group, they're also very different from one another. So Carrie has always struck me as being more of a nice person, but not necessarily kind, as opposed to Charlotte, who seems to be genuinely kind and it's not giving performative is what I'm trying to say. So Carrie can be very good at making like first good impressions. She has some level of social etiquette and she knows how to people please when it benefits her. But when you hear her thought process and her jokes and internal monologues on the show, you realize that she can be very sarcastic, cunning, and dare I say disingenuous. So that is why I put Carrie in the like quote unquote nice category, because a lot of nice things that she does or that she used to say on the show came off performative at times. So her internal monologues would kind of always betray her and reveal to us, the viewers, her true thoughts. So I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the idea that sarcasm is hostility disguised as humor. And I think a lot of viewers tend to believe that Carrie is super funny and, yes, very sarcastic and just genuinely nice and good vibes and a big personality. But I don't know, like to me, Carrie was a bit passive-aggressive and there was just a lot of hostility that she would mask as humor or just jokes. And I don't know, sometimes the way she would describe her friends, her internal monologues, again, were really revealing of like how she truly felt. But because she wasn't overtly mean and rude, she would just, mask it with a joke. But I would be like, that's very interesting. I feel like Carrie was very complex in that way. And I think that she had her best days or her best moments, but she also had her worst days. So I would say that the kindness that she would be showing to me wouldn't be consistent enough. And I don't know what it is, but when I think of characters like Carrie and Charlotte, I feel like in real life, it would be like a frenemy type of dynamic. Like the two would be friends on a surface level, but deep down, one would be hating the other, but not like a mutual thing. So I feel like somebody like Carrie, for instance, a character like hers in real life would be bullying a character like Charlotte in real life. So I really see the two girls being friends in other people's eyes, maybe, but the two like friends would know that their dynamic is a bit like ambivalent. So I can see how women like Charlotte could end up being friends with women like Carrie because they're nice and they present as a nice person. But the friendship could easily be like a frenemy dynamic where one gets abused and manipulated by the other without even knowing it. So I don't know, they strike me as that type of dynamic. And I've seen so many like girl friendships play out growing up, and that's just what they've always struck me as. Like, in a way, I feel like Carrie wishes she was just as kind as Charlotte is. And I really truly believe that Carrie wants to be kind, but I just think she's a nice person, but not kind. And I think Charlotte, like, exemplifies true kindness. And I think that in some way, it wasn't dramatic, but I think Carrie was maybe perhaps a bit envious of Charlotte on some aspects and just, wishes she was more like her, because Charlotte was also charismatic in her own way, very feminine and just very very appealing and just nice, somebody that people would just easily like. And I think Carrie also wanted to be liked, and I think she had people-pleasing tendencies, but it was like a means to an end type of thing. That's just how I saw it. I can remember multiple episodes where Carrie was trying to make her first good impressions on people that she would meet for the first time. And when those people wouldn't receive her the way she would have liked to be received, she would, just not really turn around and like insult them, but like internally she would be like, oh my God, like she's such a bitch, or X, Y, and Z. So I think it was just very much, I don't know, performative, like I said. I think I'm done with Carrie and Charlotte. So, in conclusion, I believe that only two characters that would have been able to sustain somewhat of a decent friendship in real life would be Miranda and Samantha. So both were career-oriented women with a more masculine approach to dating and just dealing with life in general. They were both hyper-independent, competitive, logical, and assertive. And I think that the friend group in SATC is super interesting, and although it was refreshing to see so many different and complex personalities meshing on the show, I think most of us could argue that the reality of those friendships would have been so different in real life. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little take.